Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Noah here from 6Flow Automations, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to allow your AI voice agent to book meetings using the caller's phone number rather than their email address. On top of that, I'm also going to be showing you how we can set up SMS reminders as the user's meeting approaches. This is extremely useful as many businesses book meetings using the user's phone number rather than their email address, like barbers, salons, and much more. So if you guys find this content useful, hit that like button, drop a sub, and let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so for this video, we're going to need three platforms. The first is going to be Retell AI, which we're going to use to actually build out the voice agent and connect it to N8N as the backend automation that will then connect to cal.com, which is the platform we use to actually book the meetings. So that being said, the first step we're actually going to do is build out our cal event to allow us to book the meetings in our calendar. Alright, so go ahead and head over to cal.com, log into your account or create a new one if you haven't already made one. And if you guys haven't already made an account, I suggest first going back and watching my other video where I break down the entire platform and how it properly integrates with Retell AI. I'll link that video up above for you guys to check out. But for those of you who already have experience with cal.com, we're going to go ahead and create a new event by hitting this new button in the top right corner. Go ahead and give it a name. I will just call this YouTube demo. And then we'll go ahead and press continue. Now there's a few settings that we need to configure within the cal event. The first thing we're going to do is switch the location to be attendee phone number right here. All right, once you got the location switched, we're going to head into the advanced settings and we're going to scroll down a bit where you see booking questions. And right here, you see it's configured on email. We're going to want to go ahead and switch that to phone so that we can book meetings using the user's phone number rather than their email address. Now, of course, you can go switch your availability limits and all that stuff. But if you want to do that, again, go back and check the other video where I break down all those settings further. And that is essentially all we need to do to set up the cal event. We will be hopping back into cal.com to set up the SMS reminder later on. But for now, we're going to jump into Retell AI, get the voice agent going, build out some functions, and then we'll hop into N8N to build the backend automation. All right, guys. So as you can see, I'm in my Retell AI account. So if you haven't already done so, head over to retellai.com or click that link in the description to head over to Retell AI and use our affiliate link. If you're new to Retell AI, I'll link a video up above where I break down the entire platform for you guys to check out before we get into this build. But for those of you who are already familiar with Retell AI, we're going to go ahead and create a new agent. Click this create an agent button in the top right. We'll click voice agent, and then we're just going to choose single prompt agent for now. Click start from blank, and then we will create. All right, so because this is just a demo for how to book meetings using the phone number rather than email address, I'm not going to build out an entire prompt for a specific scenario. I've made this quick prompt that simply just books meetings using the user's phone number. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in. I'll walk you through exactly what we do in this prompt, and then we'll get into setting up the custom function. So when we're booking meetings using the user's phone number, there's three pieces of information that we need to collect from the user. The first is going to be their name. The second is going to be their phone number, of course, and the third is going to be the desired appointment time. Now there's a few other things that we do need to include within the universal prompt to train the agent to properly format the information that's going to be sent to N8N. Of course, we are going to include these descriptions in the JSON schema of the custom function, but like I always say, it's always a good idea to add this information within the universal prompt as well. So the first thing that needs correct formatting is going to be the phone number format. When we're sending this information from Retell AI to N8N to cal.com, it needs the plus extension with no spaces between the 10-digit phone number. So that's why you can see right here under this line, I say phone number format, international format with the country code, and give an example for what country we're going to be working with. In my case, I'm in North America in Canada, so we use the +1 extension. So I give the example +1 followed by 10 random digits as a phone number. And this is simply just going to let the agent know that it needs to format this phone number exactly like this to send it off to N8N. Now, in terms of building your agent to sound natural, you want to include something like when it's asking for the user's phone number to simply just ask for the phone number and then format it later on. Because if you don't do that, then the agent is simply going to say, can I get your phone number in international format and please provide the extension, which just sounds very robotic. We don't want that for the phone number. So go ahead and include that somewhere in your prompt to say something like here, where I give examples, what's your phone number? That's all the agent really needs to say. Then we can instruct it behind the scenes to format it correctly. Now, the next thing that needs proper formatting is going to be the time and date format. This is very important because it has to be an ISO 8601 format for the data to be correctly processed between N8N and cal.com. So you can see I include that line right here. be conversational, but intentionally convert to ISO 8601 EST, and then give an example. Now, this is going to vary based on your time zone. So for me, I'm in Eastern Standard Time, which is a -5 hours from the general time zone, but this is going to vary per time zone. So make sure that you verify the agent has the correct time zone for what you want to book in. Now, another very important thing to include for all your agents that have meeting booking capabilities is the current date and time default system variable. Now you can see I have that right here in double curly brackets. You say current underscore time underscore and then your time zone. So again, I'm in Toronto, so my time zone is America/Toronto. Now this uses Retell's default system variables to give the user information on the current date and time. And the best part about this is because it's a default system variable, there's no external source needed to pull in this information. By simply adding this variable within your prompt, you're automatically giving the agent access to the current date and time. And a huge reason why this is extremely important is because these voice agents tend to hallucinate the current date and time a lot. So if I didn't have this line in the prompt, the agent is going to think that it's sometime in June 2024 for some reason, even though right now it's December 2025. And this is extremely important because if a user calls and wants to book a meeting, let's say for next Monday, the agent is going to book it for the next Monday in June 2024, not the next Monday based on the current date. So make sure you're always including this default system variable in all your voice agent prompts. Now there's a few more things that we do need to make clear in the universal prompt so the agent has proper instructions. The next thing is going to be telling which function it needs to use to actually book the meeting. So you can see here, I say call the book underscore appointment underscore cal tool with the collected information. So this is a tool that we're going to create in just a sec to allow it to actually book the meeting. The other thing is we want to make sure it stores the phone number under this specific variable. So you can see here, I let the agent know to store the user's phone number as this variable in double curly brackets. And you want to make sure it matches this exactly, attendee phone number with a capital P and a capital N. Now that pretty much covers all the required things to include within the universal prompt. Of course, like I was saying earlier, there is additional things that you should add to make the flow a lot smoother. And a great way to do that is adding some examples like I do right here, telling it to validate the format before booking, and just little things like that to sprinkle within your universal prompt. All right, so now that we've gone through the universal prompt, we're going to go ahead and set up the custom function. And to do that, we're going to hit on this function tab right here. You can see that we already have one function end call that Retell automatically adds to your agent. Now what we're going to do next is press this add button, and you can see that there are a few built-in functions that Retell provides us with, along with adding custom functions. So as you can see here, Retell actually provides us with two built-in functions that directly integrate with cal.com. One of them is checking the calendar availability, and the other one is booking on the calendar. Now, in terms of checking the calendar availability, you can go ahead and use Retell's built-in custom function before booking on the calendar. If I go ahead and click this, you can see we're very limited in terms of the information we're able to extract from Retell AI and send over to Cal. And because of this limitation, we're actually stuck with only being able to book using the emails rather than actually using the phone number to book a meeting. And that's one of the biggest downsides with Retell's native integration with cal.com, because there's a lot of functions that Cal has that we can utilize, but unfortunately we are unable to due to the limitation of this function. And another example of this is if you want to have your voice agent book meetings on the same calendar, but meetings may differ in terms of time. So one meeting may be 15 minutes, another may be 30 minutes, depending on the service that the agent is communicating with the user. And this is why we need to use custom functions with end-to-end integration to cal.com to allow us to use these functions within cal.com. And if you guys are curious about the multi-duration meeting booking capabilities, I have an entire video where I show you how exactly to set that up with Retell AI, cal.com, and N8N, which I'll link up above for those who are interested. But moving on, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. You can go ahead and add the check availability. No problem. We can do this. I'll show you how to grab your API key and your event type ID really quick. To do this, we're going to have to head into cal.com to grab these pieces of information. So once you're in cal.com, the first easy thing to grab is going to be your event ID. If you look in the URL right here, you will see a 7-digit number. That is your event ID. You can just go ahead and copy this, head back into Retell AI, and paste that right under the event type ID, just like that. Now to grab the API key, we're going to head back into cal.com. We'll tap on settings in the bottom left corner, which you can't see because my face is covering, but you should see the settings button. Then we're going to go to API keys under the developer section, and then you can go ahead and press add and create a new key, give it a name, and then press save. Then we will just simply copy this key, head back into Retell AI, and paste that key right here. And then lastly, you just want to make sure your time zone is correct. So go ahead and change that to your correct time zone. For me, that is Toronto, and then we will go ahead and press save. So checking the calendar availability function is now completely set up. Your agent has access to your calendar to determine which slots are open and which slots are already filled. So moving on, we are now ready to set up the custom function that we will connect to N8N to allow us to actually book meetings. So like I list out in the prompt, we have the name of the function right here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this so that we can name the function properly. I'm going to press add. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, press custom function, and you can see there's a bunch of information that we need to fill out in this custom function, including the name, the description, API endpoint, and the JSON schema. So let's go ahead and start with the name. And then for the description, we want to just be direct, tell the agent what this function is used for, what information it needs to call in this function, and that's it. So you can say something like this: book appointments by collecting the user's name, phone number, and desired time. Store phone numbers in international format. With the example here, the system will create a booking using the phone number as the primary contact method. Great. So the next thing we're going to need is the webhook URL from N8N so that we can paste it into this API endpoint. All right. So as you can see, I'm in my N8N account. Go ahead and create a new workflow if you haven't already done so. And we're simply just going to add a webhook trigger, and we are going to switch this to production URL, and we're going to switch the HTTP method to post, and then we will copy the production URL. Now let's go back into Retell AI so that we can paste this API endpoint right here. And then finally, all we need to do is set up the JSON schema. So I'm not going to sit here and type out the entire JSON schema. I will, however, paste it down below in the description for you guys to simply copy and paste into your custom function. But to give you a quick rundown, this is what we're working with. So we collect a few properties. We have the user's name, which is a string with a simple description, full name of the attendee. We have the time, which is also a string. And you can see that we use a pattern to make sure that it is formatting the date and time in the correct format, ISO 8601. Now, one important thing to note is you're going to want to change this section based on your time zone. So remember that when you're setting up your Retell custom function. And then of course, giving a description is always a good call too with an example. And finally, you want to collect the user's phone number, which we will treat as a string type in this section, and then give a quick description with a quick example. And you can see those are the three fields that we are going to return. All right. And that is all we need to do to set up the custom function. So we're going to go ahead and press save. And now we're going to hop into N8N to set up the rest of the workflow. All right. So we're back in N8N. This is going to be a quick setup. It's only a 2-node workflow, and we already got one of the nodes set up. The next node that we're going to need to add is going to be the HTTP request node to allow us to connect N8N to cal.com. And the reason for this is Cal doesn't actually have any built-in action nodes within N8N. They only have trigger nodes. And because they don't offer any community nodes, we got to go with the HTTP. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll click the little plus, we'll search HTTP, and we'll go ahead and add that. First thing we got to do is switch the method to post. Let's go ahead and do that. Now for the URL, this is going to be the same for everyone as of now. So you can go ahead and just copy it off my screen. I'll also be pasting it down below in the description if you guys want to copy it from there. For authentication, we can leave as none. We'll do that through the headers. And for send query, you can leave that disabled, but we will need to enable send headers, and there's going to be a few we need to add. The first one is going to be our connection through our Cal API key. So for that, the name is going to be authorization. And then for the value, you're going to want to type the word bearer followed by a space, and this is where you can paste your API key. You can use the same one that we generated for the check availability function within Retell, or you can go back into Cal and generate a new API key, whatever you want. Just make sure that you have a space between the word bearer and your API key. Now we're going to go ahead and add another parameter, and this is going to be the Cal API version. And again, this is going to be the same for everyone. So the name here is going to be cal-api-version, and the value is going to be 2024-08-13, just like that. And then finally, the last header that we're going to send is going to be the content type. So for this, we're just going to type out content-type, and the value is going to be application/JSON. All right, so we got our header set up. The next thing we need to do is send the body. Now this is where we're going to be sending all the required information to cal.com to allow it to process the booking. So first thing, we're going to switch the specify body to using JSON. Then I will switch this to expression, and I will expand this for you guys. All right, so as you can see, I've pasted the template in for the JSON schema that we're going to be using for the JSON body of this HTTP node. One thing to note is you are going to want to change the time zone to your specific time zone. And the next thing we're going to do is simply just grab the event type ID from Cal once again, so we can paste it in right here. So again, you just want to click on the URL, copy that 7-digit number, and then we will head back into N8N to paste that in. So that is going to go right under the event type ID field. And because it's a number, we do not need the quotations. Now, the next thing we're going to do is actually run a quick test just so we can pull in some sample data to fill out the rest of the fields. So to do this, we're going to exit this node real quick. We'll click save, and then we're going to activate the workflow. Now we're going going to head back into Retell AI, run a quick test so we can see the webhook being called, and then we can use some of that sample data to finish off the rest of the workflow. So I'm going to hit on executions real quick so we can see that come in. We'll head back into Retell AI. I'm just going to test using manual chat. All right, so the tool was called. So now if we head back into N8N, we should see the execution right here. Of course, there is an error because we never finished setting up the HTTP node. However, we can press debug in editor now so we can pin this data from the webhook. We'll go back into the HTTP node, scroll down to the JSON body. Let's expand this again. And now we're just going to drag in all the fields that are missing. Now, these are all going to be under your arguments tab, which is all the way at the bottom of the webhook. So you can just go ahead and scroll all the way to the bottom and you will see arguments right here. Now we want to just go ahead and drag in the rest of the fields. So for the name, that will go under name right here. Make sure it's between the quotations. For the time, that's going to go under start. And then for the phone number, that's going to go under two sections. It'll go under phone, and it will also go under phone number up here. And that is it. Workflow complete. Retell agent built. Cal event set up. Let's give it a final test. So I'm going to exit the workflow. We will unpin this data. I'm going to give it a save, a refresh. Get rid of that X. I hate that X. Now let's head back into Retell and let's go to test audio this time and let's give it a real test. And I'll pull out the calendar as well so we can watch the meeting come in real time.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hey, I'd like to book a meeting.
Of course. May I have your name, please?
Yep, it's Noah Brandis.
Thank you, Noah. Can you please provide your phone number?
Yeah, it's...
Great. Just to confirm, your number is when would you like to book the appointment for?
Yeah, let's do next Tuesday at like 10 a.m.
Your appointment is being booked for next Tuesday at 10 a.m. If you need anything else, just let me know.
All right, as you can see, the meeting was successfully booked. If I expand this real quick, you can see that we do have the user's phone number under the user's name in the actual booking with the location of the user's phone number. Of course, it's blurred out because I don't want to give out my phone number, but you can see here that it did successfully work. Now, the very last thing I want to show you before we head out is setting up the SMS reminder, which is done through the workflows within cal.com. All right, so as you can see, we're back in cal.com, and this is a very simple workflow to add on. All we're going to do is head into our event and we will click on this workflow tab right here. Now you can see we can create a new workflow, and then we have options to choose from for the trigger as well as the actions. Now for the trigger, it's pretty standard. You just want to fill this information out as you see fit. So ideally you want to trigger it before the event starts, of course. You can choose how long before the event you want the SMS to go out. So you can choose 24 hours, you can choose 2 hours, whatever you would like. And then you want to choose which event to apply this to. Because we clicked on the webhook setting within this event, it's automatically applied to this event that we just created, but you can also apply it to other events within your Cal account. Now under the actions section, we're going to want to switch the do this field from send email to attendees to send SMS to attendee. So that's right here. And then you can change the sender ID if you'd like, or keep it as CalCom. And then you can also change the text message. But as you can see, Cal already provides a template for this and it uses variables. So it's important to make sure that you keep those variables within the text message, like the attendee, the event name, organizer, event date, and of course the time zone. But if you do decide to switch up the text message template, just make sure that you're keeping those variables as they are. And if you're curious about what variables Cal actually offers, you can click this add variable button right here, and it'll show you a list of all the variables that they have to offer. Now you can also add additional actions within the cal.com workflow, but for sending the SMS reminder, this is the only action we're going to need to do. So now that that's done, we can simply just press save in the top right, and that is complete. You can also give this workflow a name if you'd like, but there's a very important thing to note is that we actually have to add credits to our cal.com account because Cal actually charges us 1 cent per text message sent. So we do need to add funds to our account for this workflow to actually work. And to add funds to your account, it's pretty simple. We're going to go back to the main dashboard. We'll click on settings in the bottom left corner, and then you will simply just go to manage billing. And here is where you can fill out your billing information and add as many credits as you'd like. And that is pretty much it, guys. You now know how to book meetings with your AI voice agent using the user's phone number rather than their email address using cal.com, N8N, and Retell AI. You also know how to send SMS reminders prior to the meeting using the cal.com workflows. If you guys want direct access to this agent build and the workflows, they are all held in our school community. If you guys want to check that out, the link is in the description below. But other than that, I hope you guys found this content useful. If you did, hit that like button, drop a sub, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.